All right, everybody. Welcome back. If you don't know, now you do know. You're officially tuned in to a very special edition of the HFWB podcast series. This is your host, Clifton Pope. And boy, I must say the tables have turned tremendously because the way I look at it, it pays off as far as who you're connected to and who you know. And before I get into the particular gentleman who I'm about to bring on to this particular episode of the HFWB podcast series, two quick things, real quick. This episode of the HFWB podcast series is being brought to you by goandfeelgreat.com, where you can feel great for the long haul thanks to the company Unicity, based on the products, the Unicity Unimate and Unicity Balance, which helps create time-based eating patterns to help you feel great for the long haul and combat insulin resistance, which is what we're trying to put it into. Second thing, real quick. Episode is also being brought to you by athleticism.com. I'm telling you, they got all the secrets and all the stuff you need to unlock the secrets to overall better human performance as well. So be sure to check them out on the link on the show notes and all that wonderful stuff. Now, back to the gentleman who I'm about to bring on to this episode of the HFWB podcast series. It's like sometimes life works out in a little bit of a full circle. I've connected with him before, life went by, time went by, we got busy, our schedules got full, and then we recently reconnected at an event for the Corpus Christi Black Chambers of Commerce. For most people who know, listening to this podcast here in Corpus Christi, Texas, I sit on the board of that as the treasurer. I actually connected with this gentleman, and I was like, man, I've been trying to connect with you for some time, but timing wasn't right, and it slipped my mind and everything, and then fast forward, I was literally on his podcast 2 days ago exactly, for those who are listening to this at a later notice. And now here we are. Basically, he's now on my episode. If you're familiar with Reggae Hour, you'll know who I'm talking about. If you're familiar with Boss Radio, you'll know who I'm talking about. And if you're familiar with just overall the SBCmovement.com, you'll know exactly who I'm talking about. I want to welcome Mr. E himself. For those who know him, he also goes by Eric Williams. Welcome aboard to the HFWB podcast series, my brother. How are you doing on this wonderful Friday morning?
Man, I'm doing great. Thank you for this opportunity to be able to talk to your audience and to talk to you. We had a great conversation on our podcast, and it's like what you have going on on your side is like pretty much complementary with what we do over here. So it was that whole conversation was educational, and not only was it educational, but it was edifying. It's a lot of education out there that doesn't actually edify, but this conversation, I can't wait to the world be able to get their hands on that or get their ears on that, because it was a wonderful conversation I had.
Yeah, without a doubt. It's all about just bouncing, ideas, beliefs, values, and just overall information back and forth, just understanding different perspectives in life, because hey, life is perspective, the way I see it. And it's like, hey, our perspectives may be the same, they may be a little bit of different, but at the same time, there's a line of symmetry somewhere along the lines within all that. So E, tell me, as far as for the people who are listening to the HFWB podcast series, who wants to know who you are as an individual, your overall background, your upbringing, and what led you to the overall journey that you're currently on at this very moment. Just as far as just not only establishing your own platform, as far as like with the Reggae Hour, the Boss Radio, the podcast, and everything that I was just on, kind of explain to the people how the origin story behind that.
Oh, wow. It started. Honestly, at risk of sounding like Terrence Howard right now, it started in the womb. Think about it. When we're all created, when we're created out of love, because you're in your mother's womb and your mother is tending to you. She's taking care of you. So the first emotion, the first thing you ever get to learn besides awareness is love. Because you know that you are in a warm environment, you are in a caring environment, you're being fostered to grow into something that is going to be bigger and better than you was yesterday.
Right.
Hence, Mr. E, I have been on a mission ever since I came out the womb to be better than the person who I was yesterday. That's been my motto all my life. I don't even remember where I got it from. I know I hear other people saying that all that, but I just don't remember because my first thought was be better, do better. Whatever you just did, you got to do it better next time. Why? Because in order for you to get to where you are, like to be born, you had to be number one out of trillions of sperm. You had to be number one. So it was a reason why you made it to the egg and not those other trillion sperm. So that already denotes right there you have a special.
You're here for a reason.
Exactly. You're here for a reason. And if you do not fulfill that reason, guess what? Somebody else will fulfill it for you.
I love that.
Ever since I was young, I've been on a quest to find out not only to be better, but to find out who I am. Because we only can see this way. So we judge everything this way, but we never judge anything like this. So I've always been on internal reflection to see who I am. And that's why I came up with the moniker of Mr. E, where if you say it fast enough is mystery.
That's an exclusive right there for those listening to the HFWB podcast series. And that kind of answered a question I had myself as far as where did the concept Mr. E comes from? Because if you do say it fast, it does mean mystery. And honestly, to add to that, E, it's like life truly is a mystery. You never know what you're going to get out of it on a regular basis. It's like life is like only 10%, as they say, and other 90% is how you respond to it. And how you respond to it based on the decisions that you make on an everyday basis will basically shape your destiny. And at the same time, it might even contribute to the next day, tomorrow, which is already a mystery within itself. Kind of describe a little bit more in details on why you wanted to kind of introduce to the people as far as the concept of mystery and what kind of spark and drove that passion within yourself to, of course, go on that quest for that matter.
Oh, I'm so glad you asked that question. Thank you. Because honestly, I picked that name originally to be a menace because I didn't want people to know who I was. You know what I'm saying? It was
like an alter ego, a secret identity.
Exactly.
I love it.
If you can't figure me out, you can't play me. So that was where I came
pieces of the puzzle together.
Exactly. You feel me?
Okay.
But then it became more deeper than that. As I done my studies, you try to find, like I said, I was trying to find myself. Everybody is soul searching. And if you're soul searching, that means you're going to have to look into the darkness. And the darkness is strictly mysterious. Yep. It's strictly mysterious. So we're sitting here to conquer the science of mystery.
Okay.
There's no other way to explain it. That's why we're all trying to figure out what's the purpose of life. Well, there you go. Conquer that mystery. What is the purpose of your life?
I love it. And to add to that, it's kind of like, the world can be looked at as kind of like a library, so to speak, because we don't have all the answers. We don't have all the questions, which adds to that element of mystery to where it's like we're on the constant quest for something, because there's a reason why they say the questions will exist until the questions get resolved. And it's because it's like you got to solve the mystery. Sometimes you got to tap into your inner Scooby-Doo, if you know what I mean. There's a reason why that's a very popular show, because it teaches you the concept of solving mysteries. Their vehicle literally was called a mystery machine.
Exactly. And I'm glad you brought that up, because think about it. They went out to conquer mysteries, right? Looking for ghosts, goblins, monsters. But at the end of the day, who did they find? A man. They always found the man.
Yeah.
That shows me right there. We know that we're the monsters. We know that we are the demons. We know that we are the villains. But yet, do you want to be that? That's what you got to ask yourself. That's what the mystery is. What constitutes you to be a hero or a villain? Because if you're not doing anything for anybody's life, you're taking away from life. So that makes you a villain. We're all here to connect with each other. And we're supposed to be doing that on a broad scale. Why? Because if you're a biblical man or a biblical woman, you read the Bible, you know at the beginning, he put everything inside of you through Adam, and Adam spreaded it out through
Yep.
humanity. So
Mhm.
if he spreaded it out through humanity, you get humanity back together, mystery solved right there.
I love it. I love it. I love like the wisdom that you found within just discovering kind of like the mystery of life. And it's like you kind of had like in a way some sort of guidance as far as where do you want it to go, where you want it to be, as far as being able to make that difference and make that impact within your own life at the right moment and right time. Is there someone in particular who kind of sticks out to you in your life, E, that kind of serves as kind of like maybe a role model, maybe a mentor, someone you could kind of look to as far as for that additional guidance who kind of helped propelled your journey to the next level throughout the course of time that you could think of?
Yeah, and it's going to sound weird because I've actually led a solo life. I break down solo, SOLO,
Yeah.
soldiers only live once.
Mm,
My mentor has always been the word, has
I love
always
that.
been the word. And I know a lot of people is like, they don't really understand what I mean when I say that. So let me explain. In the beginning, there was the word, and the word was with God.
Yep.
How do we know this? Because what's the first thing God said? Let there be light.
That's
So
words.
exactly. And when he said that, there was light. So
Yep.
if I go back to that word, anytime that I'm missing or I'm missing something, I'm in the darkness, I go back to that word that light shines on.
Mm,
Now, that's kind of deep. So let me go ahead and break it down on layman's terms. I look at words as spells because you spell a word. And if you use words in a negative or positive light, you'll get negative or positive consequences, meaning
yep.
that words are powerful.
Yes. And their
Under,
weapons.
yes, understanding those words will push you into a level of consciousness that hardly anybody else is on. And this is why I started Boss Radio, because my first podcast ever, which I still have right now to this day, is Revolutionary Hour.
Mm,
Revolutionary Hour, that's my passion. Is I like to teach. So with Revolutionary Hour, what I do is I help people understand that you need to say what you mean and mean what you say. And there's a such
mm.
thing as denotative linguistics and connotative linguistics.
That kind of feed into what my next question was going to be. Where did that concept of boss radio comes from? But that's definitely interesting. A revolutionary meaning behind it. Yes.
Yes, and even with Reggae Hour, it continues because when you listen to and I don't want to knock rap because there's some great hip hop artists out there, some great rappers out there, but
Oh yeah.
the
There's a
industry,
difference.
yes, very much different, very much trash. But with reggae, they utilize their words to not just uplift the Most High, but also to uplift humankind,
Hmm.
mankind. Because if
Yep.
we don't uplift each other, who will?
Yep. It's kind of like we're trying to get instilled the mindset of just being like, it's like what Bob Marley said. One of my favorite songs from him is Buffalo Soldier, where it's like you got to know your history, know where you're coming from, but at the same time, just keep on marching on and just keep on taking the fight to creating like that revolution, not only within yourself, but that revolution to help uplift and empower and inspire others in the sense of peace, love, positivity, and most important, unity. That's kind of what I get out of the overall concept of the reggae hour, and to kind of add everything to what you were saying. It's like you're trying to introduce people to the mystery of just discovering kind of like that revolution, because people always say like revolution this, revolution that. Really, the real revolution starts within yourself. When
Yep.
you realize that you have the ability to kind of evolve from a physical, mental, emotional, spiritual standpoint, you're already creating like a revolution within yourself to where you're going to become a different person. And the next thing you know, you're going to create an overall movement as far as just having an army behind you based off of that movement that you build. I love that tremendously, Ian. I feel like that's something that's needed a little bit more. As far as like the reggae hour, as far as for people who are listening all across the world to the HFWB podcast series, what do you want people to get out of the reggae hour? What do you want people to get out of Boss Radio? What's the overall message you're trying to send as far as the simple, straightforward message?
You already said it. Revolution starts in your mind. I'm trying to revolutionize minds. Right now, we listen to this industry rap. What does it do? It destroys women. It destroys men. It destroys families.
Yeah.
It's so much. I mean, I could go down the list of what this rap in the industry has done to the point where we have one of our greatest hip hop artists that's alive today, Kendrick Lamar. To me, don't get me wrong, the beef between him and Drake is epitome of hip hop, but I felt like he had to step down a level in order to do that because he wasn't getting. We know how phenomenal of an artist he is, but his last album wasn't getting as much attention as it's supposed to be. So I feel like the industry had to carve a way for him to get back relevant. And even though he had talent that he displayed it in a way that was destructive. Think about it. I mean, we need to go. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just I'm listening. I agree with you, and to add to everything that you're saying, it's like, you're right. I mean, when you bring up the Kendrick Lamar and Drake beef, I find that very, very interesting because that's something that's been building within itself for a long, long time, and I feel like it just what's kind of started with the whole Mr. Morale and the Big Stepper album. When I look back at it, I remember listening to that album at a beach house in Galveston, Texas, thinking I thought it was a great album. I feel like with Kendrick, you have to have like that certain level of intellect to really understand everything that he is saying. But to add to what you were saying, he does have these moments where he decides to create, I guess you could say, a little bit of shock value, but at the same time, garner maybe a little bit of attention because it kind of ties into, I remember 50 Cent said this one time in an interview. He said that Lamar is always going to be known as a media darling. He's going to make you believe that it wasn't going to happen or you didn't see this coming, but all along, he's very strategic, he's very diabolical, and he will pick you apart if he has to, if he's brought him down to that level. And he showed the world that, but now it's time for him to get back to rising above that level as far as getting back to like showing people the way of just carrying on really the legacy of, I guess you could say, Tupac Shakur, which is what he references a lot in his music, and just getting back to that revolutionary warfare in a way to where we can inspire a better world and better change. But
exactly. And see, that's what reggae is about. Okay, so one of the two iconic reggae artists, everybody know about Bob Marley. Not too many people know about Peter Tosh.
Yes. Peter Tosh is amazing.
Yes. He was one of the original Wailers with Bob Marley, but they had two totally different sounds. And with Bob Marley preaching peace, love, and unity, Peter Tosh is over here like, if you don't give us peace, love, and unity, we're going to take it by the fist. It's
kind of like a Martin Luther King, Malcolm X comparison, but the reggae version.
Yes. And it continues till this day. Reggae never diverted from that. They are still about social justice so that we can have peace, love, and truth. Because if we don't have any of that, then we're going to be slaves continuing to run on this rat wheel, going round and round, not getting anywhere, hating each other. One of my teachers, I forgot exactly the teacher that taught me this, but he said, when you wake up in the morning, what's the first thing you do when you open your eyes? Because a lot of people think you open your eyes when you get out of bed. You don't open your eyes until you do one thing in the morning. What do you think that one thing is?
That's a really good question, because the first thing that comes to my mind is exactly what just you alluded to, opening your eyes. But actually, when I think about it, when people don't realize this, whenever you do go to sleep, your spirit leaves your body and it goes into other like dimensions and realms and stuff
Astral
like
projection.
astral projection, exactly. And then technically, before you open your eyes, now that you mention it, your spirit literally has to come back into your body, and then it
Yeah,
has to get all settled in and
it
comfortable.
has to get settled in.
Then it's kind of like a switch is done, to where it's kind of like a locked and loaded, like cocking back a gun, like, and then
Yep.
next thing you know, boom, your spirit's engaged with your body, and then next thing you know, your emotions, you're tuned into your emotions, you're tuned into your mental aspect, you're tuned into your heart, all your major organs, and the next thing you know, boop, your eyes pop open. It's a real great point. I had to think about
They
that
pop
for a second.
open, but check this out. When do you catch your first sight in the morning? When you
Mm,
look in the mirror. You don't
mm,
focus until you look in that mirror, because there's nothing else. You don't even want to be waking up right now. You could be excited to wake up, but you're still in that groggy, sleepy mode until you get in front of that mirror. You may even have to splash some water on your face. You may have to brush your teeth. You're going to be looking
see,
in the mirror and you're going to
good
look
point.
at
I didn't
yourself.
even think about it from that perspective. Yeah, that's
Exactly.
interesting.
So when you're looking at yourself, this is the first thing you focus on, right? So if you don't like yourself, and now I'm going to talk to my black people, because everything I've said so far has been for everybody. But right now I want to talk to my black people.
Go
When
ahead, by
you
all
open
means.
your eyes, you look in that mirror, you see yourself. Most of us have depression because of the history that we had since we gotten on this soil. We've inherited depression. So we don't
Oh,
like the image. We don't like the image. Why? Because we know we could be somewhat better, grander, but we don't like the image. And then with all the processed foods in our system not regulating our emotions, now we hate that image. We don't like that image, so we hate it now. So guess what? When you walk out that house and you see somebody else that look like you, same thing as you looking in that mirror. You're gonna see somebody who you think ain't got no value, because they're going through the same thing that you're going through, the same depression, the same, we're fighting just to be accepted. And you hate that.
yeah.
So you're negative from the very first focusing in the morning. You're automatically waking up with that negative feeling, and you're
Yep.
projecting that on to people who look just like you.
Yep.
That's because we don't understand what wealth. We talked about that on the podcast we had with you. They don't understand what wealth really means. A
Mm-mm.
lot of people think wealth and rich are the same thing. No.
Mm-mm.
You woke up wealthy this morning when you opened your eyes and focused and seeing you was standing in front of that mirror without any help. That was wealth right then and there.
Yep.
Once we realize that we're wealthy every day we wake up, guess what? We're gonna wake up with a smile on our face. We're not only gonna wake up with a smile on our face, but we're gonna see somebody who looks like us, and we're gonna see another wealthy individual, and we're gonna treat them like there was a wealthy individual.
Yep.
This is where words come in at, because now you understand the words, you can think clearer now. Get rid of that processed food, you can think clearer now. This is what we want to get to the people in through Reggae Hour, through Revolutionary Hour on BOSS Radio. And then we got the skincare that couples what you have with the healthcare. You know, that right there alone, you take, we talked about that. Your skin is your number one determinant if you are sick or not.
Yep.
You take care of your skin, you take care of your body, your skin is gonna glow.
Right.
You're gonna see that. You can wake up in the morning like, dang, look at this shine. Oh, I'm looking good today.
Mm-hmm.
And then everybody else that look like you doing the same thing, you come, you looking good today, bro. You look, because you know we don't, as men, we don't compliment each other at all.
Mm-mm.
I don't. We scared to smile at each other.
Yeah, it's kind of it's crazy when you bring all that up, because it kind of goes back to just like, it's like a sense of competition with men. It's like, I'm trying to be better than the next guy and trying to maintain that step ahead of that next person in front of us and stuff. And it kind of feeds into our overall ego, so to speak. But at the
Yeah.
same time, we need to practice just removing ourselves from that ego and getting back to a form of just like respecting each other's skills, respecting each other's gifts, respecting each other's crafts, as far as like where that sense of respect is like established, it forms a sense of unity, which creates a sense of brotherhood to where we could expand it within not only our own neighborhood, but every single neighborhood all
Yes.
across the world. And that's
Yeah,
something that we need more of just as men within itself, and black men especially.
right. Damian Marley said something on one of his tracks. Forgive me, I don't remember the exact song, but he says one thing. He say, if we cannot if we cannot take care of it at home, how can we carry it abroad? Like,
Mm,
it starts at home. You can't. A lot of people think, oh, when I get rich, I'm a change. I'm gonna start doing right. And no, because you got rich the dirty way, you have to continue doing dirt. That's where your home is. You lay your head in dirt, you're going to carry that dirt with you everywhere. So
I
we
love
hope that with Reggae Hour, we can infuse people with the knowledgeable, uplifting music
that.
that will tell you, hey, let's get up and smile and go out there and
Mhm.
conquer the world. Versus you ain't nothing. I'm gonna take your girl and then I'm gonna send her back to you and did this, that. No, come on now. I really have to wake up today. Now I'm
Yeah,
looking at my girl
it's too
like,
early for all that. Let me get to at least the afternoon, maybe, if that. But like, come on, not early in
got
the
me
morning.
questioning my girl early in the morning. What you do last night? I know you left. Where were you? Don't say you
Oh
wasn't back by 8.
God,
You right, you were back by 8.
that's
You know,
crazy.
and we don't understand. We ingest that stuff.
Yeah.
That words are words are your first fuel. When you wake up in the morning, they tell you feed yourself aspirations. You're supposed to do that before you even eat. You're supposed to pray before you even eat. Do
Hmm.
anything. You're supposed to use words, and you're supposed to use positive words because that sets the tone for the day. So with Reggae Hour, you can go right on to Amazon, Spotify, iHeart, iTunes, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts from 12 a.m. to 12 a.m. every day, all day, and you get infused with positivity. You'll be ready. It could be 11:59 at night. The city is shut down, but you're not motivated to go out there and do some positive things. I'm telling you, I know because I haven't had the best life. You asked me about my earlier years, and I'm sorry I kind of strayed away from that. I was in the streets. I was in the streets. I was locked up. A lot of my teenage years, I did 38.7 months prison time in Florida. I've been locked up in Louisiana. That one was a scare. I got full custody of my kids, and they had me locked up there 89 days. They didn't even have me in their system. They didn't even have me in their. When I say I couldn't make a phone call, when I say people called the jail and called the DA office asking when my court dates were, they're like, we don't have nobody with this name and social security number. I'm sorry, you may have to check another Louisiana jail. He ain't here. And I'm on three-way with them. Like, no, I'm right here in your jail. That right there was, I was already on the path of changing my way. But right there, that showed me that we're caught up in a system that is not for us. And they're using words every day to lock us up. Like,
Mm, I love
before
that.
I want to go, I want to state this, but before I do, I have to make a disclaimer. I love my skin folk. We kinfolk to me. I don't care. I know what they say, all skin folk ain't kinfolk. No, we kinfolk. Some way, somehow, we kinfolk. We may not like
Oh
each
yeah.
other, we may not love each other. It
Oh
doesn't
yeah.
matter. Love my people. I love being who I am. I love being in the skin that I am. But when you actually break down the denotative definitions of the classification system that they call race here, you see it has nothing to do with our skin.
Mm-mm.
No. I mean, the first clue to that is, well, like, okay, you have a black shirt on right now. You can definitely tell where that black shirt ends and your skin begins. It doesn't blend together, meaning that they're not the same color, they're not the same tone, they're not the same shade. We have more of a brown tint to it. So where did the black come from? We could go into the science, into the scientific notion of it, but I want to stay legal because this is how they're killing us. They're killing us with the legal system. In legal system, it simply means a low-level citizen from the sub-Saharan African continent. And I found that out by trying to get my birth certificate, and my birth certificate says white. Not my birth certificate, my birth record. Excuse me. Let me clarify that, because again, words are very important. My birth record has me down as white. Hold on, wait a minute. I've been black and proud all my life. What's going on here? I had to do some research. My family is from Morocco, Tunisia area, Northwest Africa. According to the United States Federal Directive 15 of the OMB, North Africans are considered white, no matter what their skin complexion is.
Oh wow, I did not know that.
Yeah, you look it up. Look it up. You look up black, it's gonna say of the black racial groups. Now, I don't know if you know anything about definition, but you can't use the word to define the word. You know, you can't say, what does black mean? Or it means black. You feel me? So
yeah, that doesn't make any sense at all. I see
exactly. So the definition they have for black in the status column is of the many black racial groups of sub-Saharan Africa. And then in the latest editions, they took out sub-Saharan in there. So it makes it look, it's from all over Africa. But when you go down to white, it says from North Africa, Europe, and the Middle East. That means even the Arabs are white. Anybody from Egypt, you can look at Mustafa Helfny. Mustafa Helfny moved here from Egypt in 1970. They classify him as white. He had been fighting all the way up until the late 90s to be classified as black because he was missing out on things like affirmative action and other welfare help. So he needed to be classified as black. They would not classify him as black. They said, sir, I'm sorry. According to our records and according to our rules, you're white. And he's the same complexion as me. You will be sitting here next to each other and he just looks older than me. That's it.
That's crazy within itself, and that's a wonderful history lesson for everyone who's listening to this particular episode of the HFWB podcast series, E. And honestly, you kind of just inspired me and everybody who's listening just to, most importantly, do our research and, of course, know our history as far as where we come from and as far as, at the same time, just understanding where we are going and where we may be heading. Because to add to everything that you just said, the time is ticking for us Black folks. Let's just get it clear. I learned this from going to the United States Black Chambers National Convention last year in Washington, D.C. And one of the speakers that was on there, and I'll never forget it, it was a panel that had Reverend Al Sharpton and a bunch of other NAACP civil rights leaders and stuff like that. It was crazy. I remember the USBC president and CEO, Mr. Ron Busby, he said, we're in a critical time as far as, us for Black folks in America, because we have about a good 5 years before everything becomes neutral. And there's a reason for that, because they're trying to revert back time the way things they are. I mean, you see what they're doing, trying to wipe out the diversity, the equality, the inclusion, all the stuff that's going on. Like, don't get me started with Florida, University of Austin, and in Texas and Austin and stuff. It's like, It's already slowly trying to be implemented where they're trying to white out our history and white out our existence and they're trying to literally get the water hose like they used to spray us with and basically put out the fire to the revolution that they know that we're trying to create because of all of these things that's going on previously, before, and up to this very point, which kind of is a perfect segue, actually, either the next question I was actually about to ask you, going back to what you've been describing as far as your whole journey, just unlocking these mysteries to where we could start our own revolution. What would you say as far as a key piece of advice to someone listening to the HFWB podcast series who's having trouble figuring out that mystery they may be going through within their own life, and who's figuring out a way to where they can create a revolution within themselves?
Thank you. Because you already touched on it. If you know where you're from, you know where to go. If we don't know where we're from, and not only that, Think about this. You've been kidnapped, right? Somebody came and got you when you were 7 years old, snatched you off the porch of your home, your loving home with your mom and your dad. Your dad was at work, your mom was in cooking. She thought you was out there safe on the porch, and somebody came and snatched you. 7 years old, right? You're now 40 years old. And you've been calling this person that snatched you mom all your life, but you know something wasn't right. You knew that wasn't your mama. You have a vague memory of another woman loving you and taking care of you, but you can't really remember it. 7 years old after you 40, you didn't really remember, but you got that vague feeling. So you go to your mom. Wow, why do I have these feelings? And you ask the question, you want to know what's happening. You want to know what's going on with you, right? You want to know where you're from, right? What do you do your mom that kidnapped you? What you think she's gonna tell you? She's gonna tell you she kidnapped you? She gonna tell you where your real mama and daddy is? You think she's gonna take you over there and introduce you to them? No. So why do we trust DNA.com and Ancestry.com? They literally made by the same countries that benefited off the slave trade. They ain't cared about telling us where we from, but if they could tell you you are from somewhere that you're not, then you can never go back to where you're from. And if you can't go back to where you from, you can't get to where you're going. You're too busy chasing ghosts. And this is how they got us chasing our own tail. Because we rather listen to them versus going to great grandmama or going to those letters. Because I know right now it's 2024. A lot of us don't even know what a big mama is anymore. I get that. But there's ways to find out what was your big mama from, because your big mama and your great great grandmama, they kept it real. They knew where they was from. My great grandmama told me all the time. I have my great grandmama on my mom's side. Yo, baby, we from Morocco. Showing me pictures of being over there in Tunisia and Morocco and stuff.
Yeah.
Seeing this with my own eyes, but you gotta do my Ancestry.com. Guess what they say I'm from? I'm from Nigeria. I'm from Ethiopia. I'm from South Africa. I'm from Brazil. They got the Irish part right. I am a part Irish. They got that part right. I guess because of the white people. You know what I'm saying? They keep those records clear, but them black records, they don't know where you're from. They didn't care. They was just happy you was coming to America.
Yeah. Coming to America to help us benefit and all that wonderful stuff. And it's crazy how you touched on all that stuff. And for those who are listening, to kind of sum it up in the lamest terms, basically never forget where you came from. And at the same time, keep your family close, because that's what's going to really help understand the history of where you came from, just as far as your overall family tree, and understand the importance of just honoring that family tree and just keeping that tree growing, because you're basically a branch that's going to help that tree even grow and reach out the further lengths and further heights to where your previous family members couldn't. It's kind of like they were it's like they were carrying a door the whole time. And then once their time was up, they placed that door there, and there was like, okay, this is the next door, and so on and so forth. So I kind of love it how you broke it down from that perspective. And as we make a transition, Ian, to basically the part where I basically ask everybody a list of questions, who I ask everyone who comes onto my podcast, here's my first question in this regard. What is the first thing you do or think of every single day that you wake up every single day?
Oh man, first thing I gotta give thanks. I gotta give thanks, because I almost didn't wake my eyes. I almost didn't open my eyes in the morning. A lot of people don't know how close to death they are when you're sleeping. You know, first thing I do is I'm thankful. The second thing I do is I get up and I start being productive. Well, first, let me start off with my health. Bottled water. I keep a bottle of water. I squirt lemon in it at night. And I usually wake up during the night and drink on it. If I haven't woken up, then I kill that bottle. Room temperature lemon water. Definitely do that. It will help your prebiotics. It will help your probiotics. But you already know about that.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, that's the first thing. And then I'll make a smoothie, and I'll make some tea with burdock and bladderwrack. But other than that, I'm productive, because that sets your tone for the day. If I'm not doing something that is actually going to benefit either me or someone else down the line, then my whole day is wasted. And I've tested this. I've tested this. I've gotten up and tried not to do anything until about 10 o'clock. Guess what got done that day?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Yep.
I swear. I get to it. You know what? Tomorrow. Once that got him, once I seen that, I did that for a few days straight. Once I seen that, I was like, okay, see, there's definitely something to getting up. Because I was actually watching your Instagram. You get up at 5 o'clock every morning. No, you're doing something at 5 o'clock every morning, meaning that you're already up.
Yeah.
That right there, that is where I'm at. I get up and I do something. I got to get into the workout routine. I definitely suggest anybody get into the workout routine. Right now, I do heavy work. I do like work with my hands and stuff. So that keeps me active. But you need to get up in the morning. Like you said earlier, you got up, you did your run, you got your little workout in, and you feel phenomenal.
Oh, yeah.
Let me ask you, I know this is an interview you're doing, but let me ask you a question. Since you done that, do you get sleepy at 2 p.m. anymore?
I will say this: you tend to get sleepy probably like around 5, 6 o'clock in the evening,
In the
especially.
evening.
Yeah.
You feel me? That's good. 5, 6 in the evening, most people get ready to go to sleep at 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. And it's because of the processed food. Now, and I'm being victim to that. At 2 o'clock,
Yeah, and it just goes to show you, what you put into your body as far as it becomes your cells, your tissues, your organs, and your overall body systems and stuff like that. And it just contributes to your overall health. And I feel like we get so caught up in trying to chase the next thing and establishing the next form of success to where we should never forget about our health, which is actually a perfect segue to my next question, which you've heard this before, E. Health is wealth. You can't have one without the other. In your eyes, what is your personal definition of health and wealth to yourself?
to me personally, like I said earlier, you wake up wealthy every day. You wake up wealthy every day. And
Yeah.
then you don't even have to be in good health when you wake up, but you have
Mhm.
another opportunity to fix it. That's the
Yeah.
wealthiest thing you can ever, because you can't get that. You can stock up dollars, coins, checks, gold bars, silver bullion. You can stock that up and just not touch it, but you cannot stock time.
Hmm.
Can't. You can't say, oh, I'm gonna just put these couple of hours to the side and use them later. No, you won't. That's not how that works. Once you put them to the side, you just now lost them. So you wake up with a plethora of wealth. Every second is valuable, and we don't realize how valuable it is till we're on that deathbed.
Yep. I love that. I love that. When it comes to the word community, E, what is the first thing that comes to mind when you hear the word community?
It used to be neighborhood. When I was growing up, it was neighborhood. But then you learn that it was the dynamics of the neighborhood that made it a community. It was the fact that even though this person lived next door to you for 15 years and then they moved away, guess what? They still come around to talk to you. They still
Hmm.
in the community. They never left you. They just relocated their physical selves. Community is not physical. A community is all spiritual. It's all. It's nothing mental about it, because a community doesn't have to think about being a community. It just is a community. Uh,
Hmm.
and it's there because they have a whole bunch of spirits. When God gave Adam his spirit, his body became a community with the
Yep.
cells, the organs, tissues, and things of that nature.
Yep.
Uh, and then Eve came, and she was part of his community, but not because of the proximity, not because it was right next to each other. It's because the spirit. If you don't have the same spirit, I don't care how close y'all can live in the same house and not be in the same community.
No, that's true, and it kind of touches on one of the main 12 universal laws, not only just the law of attraction, but most people forget about this one, E, the law of oneness. We're
Oh,
all connected to each other in some form of capacity in a way, meaning I could do something to you and it could have some sort of effect on you based off of my original intent of me starting that form of energy and that form of action and stuff and creating that level of vibration and frequency and stuff, which explains how so connected we are, which is
Yep.
just makes us a community within itself. That sense of just being connected to us, each other as one, and just riding on that same energy, that same spirit, that same frequency, and that same vibration, all in alignment. And it just makes for wonderful transitions. And speaking of transitions, I'm actually transitioning to a series of questions where I'm basically going to ask you pick either or which one you would prefer
Okay.
out of the other. The first one is simple, loyalty or respect.
Loyalty, respect to come.
Would you rather live in space or live in the ocean?
Ocean. We haven't discovered enough of it.
Got you. Would you rather be famous and poor or anonymous and rich?
Famous and poor because I at least have some kind of reach to actually touch people's lives.
I love that. I love that. Would you rather have unlimited free meals at your favorite restaurant or unlimited first class tickets?
Unlimited first class tickets. If I ain't feeding myself, then I ain't getting fed.
Would you rather dance to every song or sing to every song?
Ooh, that is a good one. I'm gonna say sing only because that's all I was doing yesterday for the festivities. Every time a good song came on, I ain't get up and dance. I was singing it. So yeah, singing.
No, I hear you. And this is actually a good segue into the next question I have for you. Picture a scenario, where you're basically trapped on an island and you had nowhere to go, but you had the option to listen to your favorite five music artists of all time. It could be any genre, their whole entire catalog. Who would those five music artists be?
Okay, so we're gonna start off with, of course, Bob Marley, Peter
Gotcha.
Tosh, Tupac, Nas, and it's a new one. It's a new one. I was gonna say Kendrick. I love Kendrick, but it's a new one. Oh, I can't remember his name. I just downloaded some of his music. And he's been out. Actually, he's not new. He's new to me. Oh man, I'm losing his name. I hate that.
He could be considered an honorable mention.
Yeah. Oh man. And I play. He got a song called "God Loves Ugly," and that song it makes me cry every time I hear it. Like quick
Okay.
synopsis of it. The first verse is about a young girl who grew up in an abusive home and then ended up turning out to be a prostitute later on in life and tried to change. And she just wondered, does God love her, even though she's living an ugly lifestyle? The
Okay.
second one is dude. He was raised in the streets, but that was all he knew. He never got taught how to be a responsible human being. You know what I'm saying? So he
Right.
was wondering after he's been in and out of jail, and he's just tired of going to jail. God, do you love me? I didn't know what else to do. That
Mm-hmm.
that third verse, it hit home, and because I've been homeless. But imagine going to war for a country just to come back and be spat on and sent to live in the streets, eating out of the dumpster. You ain't got no mom, no dad, no brothers. Nobody cares about you. You done spent 2, 3 years over in a war-torn country for these people who don't care nothing about you. And you're wondering, did you do it all for nothing? Do God even care? You know, that song right there, them three verses is, I tell people every time, if you don't hear that song, then you don't know. You can't talk about somebody else's life. You can't.
Yeah.
We don't know who Jacob Israel. Jacob Israel. I knew his name was gonna come to me. Jacob Israel. That's his name. Look him up. Jacob Israel.
I
God.
will definitely look him up because the way you described that song, I have to listen to it myself. Jacob
Um,
Israel, for everyone listening to the HFWB podcast series, check him out. I'm gonna definitely do the same. You should too. Definitely good recommendation there, E. My next question is, what is your favorite go-to meal?
oh man, always is gonna be a smoothie. It's always gonna be a fruit smoothie. Strawberries preferred. As long as it got strawberries in it, I don't care about the rest of the fruit. You can throw anything out. As long as it got seeds.
Got you. Now, where's the favorite place that you have traveled to thus far, Ian? Where's the place you would like to travel to that you've never been to before?
Western Caribbean, I'm sorry, Eastern Caribbean is my favorite place that I've been to so far, but I need to
Okay.
get to the Mediterranean. I definitely need to get over there. It's so much history. It's so much history. Fun fact, real quick, this land, North America, was discovered by Christopher Columbus what year?
They say 1492.
Okay. What year was the Moors defeated in Europe and pushed out of Europe back to Africa?
That's a really good question. I want to say before that.
February 1492, Granada of Spain, which was held by the Moors, was overthrown, and the Alhambra and all that fell to the Europeans, who Queen Isabel and King Ferdinand
Hmm.
sent Christopher Columbus over here to finish that. And that's all written history that we don't get over here. Christopher Columbus came to finish the war with the Moors.
Mm.
That's written history. I've read it in legitimate books from the 1500s. That I don't know if you ever heard of Doctrine of Discovery, but that was something that came out right at the beginning of the 1500s that said that any European country can claim dominion over any land that they come across. Doesn't matter.
That's
And
good to know. That's good to know, without a doubt. Now, whenever you're not doing all the stuff that you're doing on a regular basis, as far as just this busy schedule that you do have, what are some of your favorite hobbies that you like to do that many people may not know you like to do?
read one, but let's say I want to decompress. I just want to live and be a regular human being. I'm gonna watch
Right.
some TV. I ain't gonna lie to you. I watched the
Yeah.
one I
Hey, there's nothing wrong with decompressing from time to time. Sometimes we got to unplug ourselves in order to replug and recharge ourselves, without a doubt. I'm 100% with you on that, for
I, I
sure.
will I will say one thing about that. For all you people that don't like watching TV, I completely understand. But once you get through reading something, go back and watch a couple of shows and stuff like that and see if you can peep what you just read in those shows.
Yeah,
And you
that's
may not
it.
even think it was related.
No, that's an interesting perspective. I mean, that's a first for the HFWB podcast series. But hey, I'm all for it, without a doubt. My last question is simple. If you had the opportunity to go back in time to talk to yourself 10 years ago, what would you tell yourself at that particular time? And at the same time, based on your current journey that you're on, where do you see yourself going in the next 10 years?
Nothing. I'm a full believer in the butterfly effect. If I tell myself something, if I go back in 10 years, 10 years ago and tell myself something, then I may not have that knowledge, that wisdom. Now, you feel what I'm saying? Because I would have changed something back then
Mm,
that would have kept me from going through a life lesson that I needed to learn. So
mm.
honestly, and I thought about it because I tell myself the winning lottery numbers. I tell myself the winning Super Bowl games for the past 10, 15 years. You know what I'm saying? I'll do it. And I thought about it. But if I won that first Super Bowl game, that's going to change the outcome of the next Super Bowl game. So guess what? That money I won first Super Bowl, I'm going to lose it on the second Super Bowl. I
Yeah,
think too much.
yeah,
But
it's like a domino effect. Yeah.
yeah, it is. Now, as for where I see myself, I believe that was the next question. Where I see myself in the next 5, 10 years is
Yeah, next 10 years, where do you see yourself being in the next 10 years? Yep.
next 10 years. I want to be able to say I have 2 or 3 successful businesses that are generating passive income, while actually taking that way it can open up more time for me, not only to take care of my wealth. I mean, not my wealth. I'm sorry, my health. And then after that, teach. My passion is teaching. Again, that's what Revolutionary Hour even got started. I want it's information that we, especially as Black people, we don't get our hands on, because they say if you want to hide something from a nigga, excuse if that's not allowed. If you want to hide something from one of us, you have to put it in a book, because we don't read. I want to change that. I really do, because I've like ever since you start reading, it's like wow. Like I found out about the black thing. I thought I was black and proud my whole life. I mean, I was claiming it, so I was, but not in the connotation, not in the denotative state that is set. I was lying. Politically, I was lying because I was supposed to be white. But
Wow.
yeah, I definitely want to get back into reading and teaching.
I love that. I love that. And then something we need a whole lot more of. We need to read a lot more. We need to write in order to express ourselves. And we just need to teach each other how to, of course, empower ourselves and to, of course, take the history that's already been proven and done before and seeing how we can elevate ourselves based off of that history. And if not, take it to the next level to where we can also tell our own story, but add our own his story or her
Yes.
story to the overall story of this whole entire world, this whole entire universe, and this whole entire just overall creation of life itself, thanks to the higher power. And I feel like that's what people should get out of this particular episode of the HFWB podcast series the most, because this was definitely very informative. I'm blown away by what was discovered, and this is exactly what I expected, E. And overall, for people who would want to follow your journey a little bit more and just to continue to unlock their mysteries and create that revolution within themselves, where can they get in contact with you at?
If you want to personally get in contact with me, we're on all the social media platforms, whether it's YouTube, whether it's YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, X, formerly known as Twitter. We're on it. So you can find me at BOSS Radio or Mr. E. Either at BOSS Radio or at Boss of the Southside Bosses. You can find us on that. And on streaming platforms, we're on Spotify, iHeart, iTunes, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Tidal, Deezer. Matter of fact, I think Google Podcasts just changed to something else, but we're on whatever it changed to. We're known as Revolutionary Hour or Reggae Hour. Or you could just catch up with us on our website at sbcmovement.com, where you'll see all of our episodes. You'll be able to see the artists that I interview, Reggae Hour. You'll be able to get to know these artists personally. That way you can understand their lyrics and be able to actually see how they convey to your own life, which is what we all are here to do. We also have a lot of information. We're posting an article Monday. I want everybody to be aware of this. Did you know that they actually have a robot with a human brain in China?
Yeah.
So if people don't know about these things, we got to keep up with them, because you never know. In 10 years, you may be talking to somebody swearing up and down this is a human. The whole time you've been talking to an automation.
Yeah, with the times that we're living in, I feel like that may be coming sooner than people think. And that's why we just have to stay alert, stay aware, and just stay on the journey of discovery, taking care of ourselves and establishing a theme for ourselves to where we can rise above all of that when the time does come. E, I just thank you so much just for the knowledge, the wisdom, the information, the resources, the gems, everything that was provided to this particular episode of the HFWB podcast series. And most importantly, I thank you for taking time out of your schedule to simply bless us with an appearance of the HFWB podcast series. I'm looking forward to just creating more revolutions that will be televised alongside yourself, my friend. This is great stuff.
Yes, sir. Anytime. Also want to send people, go check out Southside Beauty Care. We have all organic Mother Nature skin, hair, and body care. You want your skin to glow? Talk to Mother Nature and we'll translate it for you.
I love it. Please go check them out, because definitely it's a revolution that will be televised. This is Mr. E. Also, if you say it fast, mystery. So what's your mystery in life that you're dealing with? It's time for you to unlock it. You can check out both of us on our platforms, because that's what we're here to do, to help you stay on course and on path to whatever your journey of life is and whatever your calling is in life. Mr. E, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to be a guest on the HFWB podcast series. And with your host, yours truly, Clifton Pope of the HFWB podcast series, I encourage everyone to stay healthy, wealthy, and blessed. And until next time, peace, love, and positive vibrations.
All right, everybody. Thank you for having